Sure. Well, when COVID-19 hit, we all kind of pivoted in government. We all kind of pivoted, my agencies included, to be able to kind of refocus their delivery of services to help those who are in need as a result of COVID-19. So, for instance, the Office of Community and Rural Affairs, has been able to grant $21 million in grants to small rural communities throughout Indiana to help them either with health and safety initiatives that they have or giving grants or loans to small businesses to help them during this very trying time. Maybe establishing Wi-Fi hotspots in communities that don't have that broadband and internet, which we do want to talk about broadband for the.
Okay.
So we did learn how to pivot and to refocus our energies to be able to help Hoosiers in need, because that's really was what we were dealing with COVID-19. We ended up knowing that our general fund revenues were impacted. We cut all of our state budget agencies 15% to be able to cut down on what we were spending as a result of those diminished revenues. Here's the interesting thing. At the end of 2020, we had 31,000 job commitments, which is more than we had in 2019 and really a 5-year record. So in spite of COVID-19, Indiana created more job commitments than they had in the previous 5 years. And building permits statewide are up over 11% in 2020 over 2019. So to me, it speaks to the strong foundation, economic foundation we have here in Indiana as a result of fiscal conservative leadership over the past 16 years, where we balance budgets and we keep taxes low, and we have over a $2 billion surplus and a AAA credit bond rating by all three independent rating agencies. That is what has kept us strong enough to have the foundation to be able to keep growing our opportunities. That in turn creates some other challenges. And those challenges are, as we're attracting people from other places and we're growing our population, how do we ensure that we have adequate workforce housing? How do we ensure we have adequate housing for Hoosiers? How do we ensure that, minorities and people that are disadvantaged have those opportunities to have a home and to have a place to live and put their head down at night so that they can continue to have? Those are the challenges that we face and continue to address with or without COVID. But certainly COVID has made it more challenging. But I also think we have risen to the occasion as a state. And what I hear from people, Hoosiers that are in other states and visiting other states and living in Florida, during the winter, is Indiana is doing it right in terms of how we're delivering our vaccinations, how we are, putting in the right kind of balance between keeping Hoosiers safe and keeping our economy open.
You said something about the broadband. Tell me about that real quick.
Well, we learned through COVID-19 that being connected is no longer a luxury. It is absolutely essential because our students are e-learning, our workers are teleworking, and healthcare is being delivered telehealth. And so being connected is absolutely critical. That's why in 2018, Governor Holcomb and I dedicated and committed $100 million to expanding broadband through rural Indiana. To date, we've awarded $79 million of that, connecting over 22,000 businesses and households here in Indiana. The federal government also knows how important and critical it is, and that is why in December of 2020, they announced and awarded $169 million here in Indiana to connect 153,000 Hoosiers over the next 6 years. Governor Holcomb has indicated and is working with the General Assembly to try to get an additional $100 million in state funding in this budget cycle to continue to connect Hoosiers. Because back in 2018, Purdue University released a study saying that there were, at that time, about 500,000 Hoosiers in internet darkness. And if they were all connected, it would result in an additional $1 billion. This is why we made that commitment back in 2018. And it is more real and more viable today than it was back then. And it looks like I need to be spending more time on broadband here in my home. My connection isn't the best, so I'm going to get on that as soon as this phone call, or as soon as this interview's over.